you want to clap it?
I'll do it. Yeah.
So Amy and I went to Iceland June 2021, and we were trying to decide where we were going to go for our trip that year. And because of COVID, there weren't a lot of countries that we could travel to, at least that were recommended by the government. There's kind of this short list of thumbs up approved countries.
And so Iceland was one of those countries, and they had actually just opened up for tourists again, for people who were vaccinated, and we both were, so we figured that's where we'd go.
We had these amazing waterfalls to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like literally the only people the whole time we were at some of these waterfalls. And later when we were talking to some people, they were blown away. They were like, this never happens. Like, how could you have one of the most famous waterfalls in the country and you're the only ones there to look at it? You have the place to yourself.
Yeah. So right when we flew in, we found out that the airport was actually right next to an active volcano that they have there. So we decided to go check that out right away. But we also saw it on the last day. So we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later. The first thing that we saw was they have a national park that has this crevice, and they say it's where the tectonic plates come together.
And there's a little history. It was like the first gathering of humans or something.
Of humans in Iceland. Not ever.
Yeah, I didn't say ever. You might have
They say
inferred
it used to be the place where when Iceland was first populated, they would always have this big meeting there or something.
Bonfire, big bonfire.
But anyways.
So we went to the geyser.
It was called the Stroker Geyser, and we will give a disclaimer that it is impossible to speak Icelandic, so we're just gonna pronounce things how they look, but they're not gonna be correct.
Yeah, impossible even for the locals, right? No one can speak that language.
It's impossible.
If you just read it phonetically, you're not even close. Like they just like disregard half the letters in the word and just say a different noise.
Yeah. So we went to see this geyser, and it was nice. It was freezing outside, so it was very cold while we were waiting for it to erupt. And it was chill.
So after the geyser, we went to our first waterfall in Iceland, and they got a lot, and they're all amazing. So Gullfoss was the first waterfall we went to, and it's a really wide, huge waterfall. So tons of volume of water going over this.
And it was really pretty because it's all falling like right into this crevice, which I feel like was really unique to see.
Also, mad chilly and crazy windy. Turns out Iceland, maybe because it's in the middle of the Atlantic, is just the windiest place on the planet.
Freezing. So it made it hard to look at times, but it was really beautiful.
So day 2, we went to see a crater.
You could walk around the crater. They had a lake in the center, so it was pretty, probably like a mile or so loop around. So we hiked around there, and that was kind of cool. After that, we decided to go hit up one of the waterfalls. So the first waterfall that we went to, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it was Seljalandsfoss.
And after we looked at it for a little bit on the ground level, we decided to hike up to get it from the top. So we went around the side, found a little road. I think it was part of someone's farm potentially, but right to Rome, you know how it is. We went up that road, got to the top of the waterfall.
Had to cross a raging river to get over to it.
There's no raging river.
It was a little bit raging, and I didn't know if I could make it over, but I did.
It was like 2 feet deep. Amy thought she was gonna get washed right out of the waterfall.
Well, because we were jumping across rocks and it was like rushing under. So it was a little scary, but we made it.
After that, we drove probably just another half an hour down the road, and we got to another waterfall called Skagafoss. So day 3, we signed up to do some kayaking next to the huge glacier in Iceland in one of the bays that had some icebergs that had broken off from it. So the glacier, the big one in Iceland, is 8% of the island. It's gigantic. Mm-hmm. And we just went to tiny pieces of it that was spilling out of the mountainside, basically. And they were still absurdly big. We went to Vatnajökull, as they like to call it. That's the glacier. We jumped in some kayaks, kayaked around, and it was just gorgeous. Stay here for a second. After kayaking, we backtracked a little bit to go to one of their national parks. They had another waterfall there that we heard great things about. They had all these geometric pillars that had this like strange rock structure, but since I'm not a geologist, I can't explain it any more than that.
So it was just like from like volcanic activity or something. They had created like these hexagonal pillars, and then as the water came down from the waterfall, it would like erode it and break off parts of them. So it's just all these like broken off hexagons that are framing this waterfall, and it kind of makes it look almost like a cathedral or something. So after that waterfall, we headed back the other direction because that's where we were going to be staying that night, and we were driving past a lot of the like fingers of the glacier that came out, so we decided to park the car and we went and we just walked out.
And that was another first for Amy.
Yeah.
First glacier she touched.
First time being on a glacier.
Also first glacier she kissed. First glacier she touched.
I did touch it.
It was intimate. Then we drove the last little bit to our destination where we were gonna sleep, which is a little town called Höfn. And that was another doozy for us because it's spelled H-O-F-N, so we kept on calling it Höfn. And
we were like, for sure that's how you say it. How else could you say it?
That sounds so Scandinavian, right? You're like, Höfn, that's gotta be it.
Not even close.
No one even understood what we were going for. they couldn't even translate it all. So eventually someone told us just Höfn.
Yep. Oh, and on our way back, we wanted to do some horseback riding.
Get up, get up, get up. No, go. You're good.
After the horses, we went back to the lagoon we had kayaked in earlier, but we decided to stroll along the beach because a lot of the chunks from the glacier wash off into the ocean and then wash up onto the black sand beach. So you can just walk along and it kind of feels like an ice sculpture or something. That's how Amy was.
Yeah, it felt just like a sculpture garden.
Look at that blue piece.
The last thing for the day is we stopped at a canyon, and it was like a big mossy canyon. Who knows what the name was? Something we can't pronounce, that's for sure. And it was like amazing. I think the canyon is the perfect example of how Iceland has all these nature views and vistas that if they were in a different country would be like the highlight of the country. And we can only spend like 2 hours at this canyon, maybe an hour and a half. And it was like breathtaking the whole time. And it was just another item on the list of awesome nature in Iceland.
Yeah.
But gorgeous.
All right, so day 5 was our last day, and we headed back to Reykjavík. So that was the side of the country where we started. And so we didn't spend a ton of time in Reykjavík. There honestly wasn't a lot to do there.
Yeah, you're not going to Iceland for the architecture of the cities. It's all about the nature. So we were there for a minute and we regretted the whole minute.
We didn't regret the whole
Yeah, we
minute.
did. Then we drove on down to go to another hot spring. This one was more commercial. It's kind of close to the airport and it's heated because there's an energy plant right next to it. So you're technically in like wastewater from the energy plant.
So since it was our last day and we were over by the volcano, we wanted to go check it out again. And while we were at the hot springs, someone told Nathan that they'd actually shut it down because lava had gone over the path and so they weren't letting people go over. So we were really bummed about that because we wanted to see it again, but we figured why not just drive over, it's really close, and we'll just try to see if we can at least like see it from afar or something. But we got there and apparently they had just blazed a whole new trail since the lava kept overtaking all the other trails that they made, and so we were still able to go check it out. And you're just standing there thinking like, this is so insane, because it's just like right out of your 5th grade science class where they're like, this is what a volcano looks like, this is what it does, all of that, and you're just like standing there right with it, and it's just crazy.
Yo, that's hot.
So we saw a mountain that kind of skirted the side. This was kind of like a hilly, mountainous area, and some people were hiking up that to get a better view of the cauldron itself, because we were miles away, because the lava had spilled over for miles around it. So we decided we were gonna hike up that mountain as well. So we hiked a couple miles up to the top of this mountain, and from there we could see, even though it was a couple miles away still, the cauldron just bubbling. All right, Miss Val, closing remarks for Iceland.
Overall, I thought that Iceland was incredible. Every day was just something beautiful, something gorgeous, and I just couldn't believe the amount of times that I just like stopped and the word just wow came out of my mouth, just because I felt that so many times, just so struck by how beautiful and just amazing the country was. I absolutely loved it.
We just scratched the surface because we were only there for a few days and the island's huge. There's plenty of nature, we need to go back. But Amy and I love nature. That's like one of our favorite parts of travel, and this was like the best nature in the world. So obviously it's set up for success. But I think the real testament to how much I loved Iceland was I daydream about some of the things we saw in Iceland, like even now, for like the last couple months. Like I'll just think of a waterfall we went to, or like think of the volcano randomly. Like I'm just working, and then suddenly I'll be like, oh, remember seeing that volcano, that active volcano? That was crazy, right? So it just lingers with you even after you've gone, which I think is the best testament you could have for a trip.
Yeah. Trying to look at this volcano but also not get pebbles in your eyes, and it's just like burning your skin, all these pelted. Oh gosh, why do I talk like that sometimes? Ugh. Sometimes I just can't speak words very well. Svinafellsjökull.
Svinafellsjökull.
Yeah.
Svinafellsjökull.
All right, so day 4, we started driving back west since we had hit our furthest point east, and I'm gonna start that over.
And we what? What do we do?